It was Cassie's moment to face the storm. Clad in a flowing, earth-toned dress, heavily pregnant at 8 months, she entered with steely resolve. No glance at Diddy, no flicker of a smile, no nods of reassurance, just a determined stride to the witness stand, as if she had rehearsed this moment in her soul for years. Maybe she had. Her voice was soft yet unwavering, a steel thread woven with raw truth. No tears stained her cheeks, no trembling betrayed her nerves. She simply laid out her story, dark, brutal, and utterly chilling.
The jury had a whole night to process the disturbing details of these freak-offs that were laid out yesterday through the eyes of Cassie Ventura. The graphic details, the alleged abuse, the drug abuse. Today they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs. There was something so uncomfortable about the moment. Watching the jurors see something so raw and so personal in a courtroom full of eyes and full of opinions. Cassie was the most emotional we've seen her. At times even reflecting when she heard the words come out of her mouth, saying things like, "I can't believe I dealt with that." And you gotta understand, these aren't gigantic courtrooms. Cassie and Diddy are not at opposite ends of a football field. They are feet from one another. And the only thing between them really are their lawyers. And even though all eyes were on each of them, I don't think they ever looked directly at each other. Not when she walked by him, not when she was testifying, not when at times she broke down sobbing, remembering how she loved him and just wanted him to say sorry for the things that he had done. Now, when she talked about not wanting to live anymore, or her opioid addiction, or lying to her mother about the abuse, or when it started or the extent of it, the audience was shifting uncomfortably. And sometimes, so did she.
He testified. Did he beat her, drug her, isolate her, traffic her, and record her having sex with male sex workers? Not once, not twice, but repeatedly, in hotel rooms and his own homes, all while he watched. She said she eventually stopped resisting, feeling less like a person and more like property. She had no true friends, no support system, and no safe escape. She revealed that Diddy filmed these encounters and would sometimes show her the footage to degrade and control her. At other times, he used those videos as weapons, threatening her that if she ever left, those tapes would destroy her. Earlier that day, a male escort allegedly hired by Diddy to be with Cassie took the stand. Phillip testified that Diddy paid him thousands to sleep with Cassie, while Diddy silently observed from the room's corner. He described Cassie as terrified, like a robot on autopilot. Afterward, he said he felt sick, haunted by the fact that what he had witnessed was far from consensual, even if technically it was.
Testified about having to hide under a toilet to get away from Diddy. She revealed getting a gash by her eyebrow after he threw it into a bed frame in front of her friends. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home. And she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, well, powerless to make the choice to escape. Now, to make her point, Cassie talked about going to a hotel when Diddy beat her after a party in Los Angeles. She said she didn't want to stay, but felt she couldn't leave. She testified, quote, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me." You know, Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well, saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself. When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, just make him more violent, make him stronger, want to push me harder in that situation.
He testified that on another occasion, he heard loud bangs and shouting behind a closed door. Minutes later, Cassie emerged trembling, her face bruised and battered. She said nothing, her eyes fixed on the floor as she silently passed by him. The defense sought to portray Cassie as someone who stayed for the money, insisting she was an adult who could have left at any time. But the prosecution pushed back, fiercely arguing that trauma isn't that simple, and control doesn't always wear chains and locks. Sometimes it wears the mask of luxury. Sometimes it hides behind a love that slowly corrodes from within.
Cassie also described the leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail, those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, "One time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me." Now, Cassie's direct testimony is actually now over. The defense, though, they're going to get their chance to cross-examine her and go into the details again tomorrow morning. I want to begin with CNN entertainment correspondent Elizabeth Wagmeister, who you and I have been bosom buddies in this court. We've been sitting next to each other watching it all go down, and you have a unique perspective on all this from the coverage you've been doing. Talk to me, though, about the scope and of the violence and the intimidation that she laid out in court today.
Yeah, Laura, so as you said, her first day of testimony yesterday really focused on these freak-offs. Today focused on the physical abuse, the domestic violence. This was the first time that the jury saw photographic evidence of the injuries. You mentioned this gash on her eyebrow. We saw bruises all over her body, a black eye, a fat lip. I want to walk you through just some of the instances that Cassie brought up when she testified today. One time she said that she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry and she said, quote, "He beat me up." She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home.
Diddy sat motionless throughout most of her testimony, arms crossed, eyes locked in unwavering focus, occasionally jotting notes in his notebook, but never once looking away. The courtroom was eerily silent as she stepped down. No applause, no whispers, just the soft click of heels and the closing of a door. Cassie was only 22 when Diddy first introduced her to what he called freak-offs. What began as a disturbing fantasy quickly spiraled into a haunting routine, one that left her feeling exploited, broken, and utterly worthless.
They're showing an incident from Toronto. She said she put her hair over her eye to hide a bruise, and then they went to the Hamptons. She said that Sean Combs wanted to then have a freak-off in the Hamptons, so they got a hotel and an escort. She said that the escort was named Dave. She took the drug GHB, and she went into a G-hole, which sounds like some type of blackout. She woke up, and she was naked in the shower, and Dave and Sean were freaking out. "I bugged out. It wasn't pretty," is what she said in the testimony. She said, "Then what?" Ventura responded, "I spoke to a friend of Sean's, and then we had a freak-off." And then they showed another photograph, and it shows her eyebrow that had healed up a little bit a week later, and she has a permanent scar on her eyebrow, she said, from this. And she is shown another photo from the Cannes Film Festival. She said Sean accused her of taking drugs from his boat and threw her off of the boat, but her passport was still on the boat. She was on the red carpet for some type of event that night, and she said she attended the movie. They then went to New York. There was a commercial flight that they took. She traded her seat to get away, but he traded to get next to her. What did he show you? Freak-off videos. So we've heard about this, him showing videos and then using that as kind of blackmail material, if you will. She said that he played the freak-off videos for me on one of his laptops. He said he would release them. So that's some pretty compelling evidence.
Beth or any of this. Diddy had a strict checklist. Her nails had to be perfect, white, or French tips only. Her body, tanned, waxed, and in peak shape. He scrutinized everything, breast implants, her figure, even the way she walked and spoke. Cassie wasn't just showing up. She was stepping into a meticulously crafted performance. The first time it happened was in his bedroom at his LA mansion. She didn't know the other man, only that he was paid to be there. Numbed by ecstasy and alcohol, she tried to quiet her nerves as Diddy controlled every detail. The lighting, the outfits, the slick sheen of baby oil. He even had her wear masks and wigs, transforming the experience into a surreal, secretive nightmare. Legal experts now believe Cassie's testimony could be pivotal in determining the verdict of this explosive case.
Cassie can talk about and identify the sex workers that may have been involved, identify the locations, because again, in order for this to be a federal case, you've got to cross state lines. So if you have to establish that these activities happened in New York, happened in Miami, happened in California, that you were forcibly transferred or had to travel to each of these different locations. So the videos are going to be important from that perspective. But again, I don't think everybody's going to sit there and, watch, sex tape after sex tape after sex tape and watch Cassie be, basically brutalized 10 different ways from sunrise. I don't see that happening, but I do see some snippets coming in. But I do got to say one more thing, because my inner prosecutor wants to go after what Brad said.
Yeah, I had a feeling Melba was going to have something to say about what Bradford was saying. So go on, Melba.
Yeah. But most importantly,
I think that Melba's bringing the velvet hammer to you,
Oh,
Bradford. Not a
Melba's
velvet
great.
glove, a velvet hammer.
Melba's
So
fantastic.
go on,
She's always
Melba.
been fantastic. I welcome it.
Well, one thing I will say, first of all, is that sadly, I think all of us know people who have stayed in abusive relationships for a lifetime. And we know people that have died as a result of domestic violence